million a year from damage inflicted on the vehicles by substandard roads. And that's just madness to have that. So I think we've got to get at that. I think we've got to get at the bridge issue, the fact that salt corrodes both the steel and the concrete. There are some possible answers out there in the form of compounds that will melt ice and snow, but don't have the terrible characteristics of salt. I'd like to come back to the rail, though. This has been declared the century of rail by the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And it's very clear that for land-based transportation, surface transportation, rail is the most productive, cost-effective, and safest way to move. And I think if we look to our neighbors in the north, in Montreal, or in Paris, or in London, we find that the transportation systems are welcoming. They're cleaner. They're inviting to get into. And I think we somehow have to turn more of our dollar in that direction.
Thanks very much. Thank you. I want to ask another question, and I'm going to start with Mayor Curtatone. One of the challenges, with the MPO is that we represent a very large region. It's 101, cities and towns. Can you talk a little bit about how you'll work to think regionally and work to represent the entire region as a whole on the MPO?
Absolutely. We need to think globally. I've served 2 years as president of the Mass Mayors Association. I've served on the board of directors of the National League of Cities, and I've been an active member of the Metro Mayors Coalition and work with the MAPC. As you know, Somerville was a leader in the visioning project for the MPO. One of the things we made it in our goal and our promise when we elected the seat for the term we just finished was to represent those communities who felt that there wasn't equity in the process, and it was very difficult to pass the bureaucracy of transportation agencies. The first issue we had to deal with was assisting the town of Wakefield, sitting down with their team, with my staff, and realizing that much of their documentation was misclassified in an important roadway project. So whether it was dealing with Wakefield to Foxborough, from Braintree to Belmont, it's important for us to work hand in hand with those staffs. My staff has been made available to all those municipalities. I update municipalities regularly as important meetings come up. And that's gotten such positive feedback. We're going to be putting out when we're reelected, a monthly email newsletter as to what is happening in the MPO. Again, many cities and towns outside the coast do not have the staff capacity, time, or resources to plan, to understand how to work with your regional, state, and federal agencies. And we want to share that best practice. We want to be that regional leader.
Ginger, the same question. Thinking regionally?
Yes. Well, luckily, I also represent my town at MAPC, which is the regional planning agency that mirrors the same and serves the same region as the MPO. So I'm on the executive committee, and I was formerly an officer. And we get to know not only projects, but we also get to know legislation that concerns the various cities and towns and what's happening regionally. And so I think that helps in bringing more knowledge to this table as to what the needs are.
Obviously, there is the need to be fair, equitable, and earnest. And I intend to practice that if I get the opportunity.
Great. Well, I want to thank all three of you for coming. I'd like to give you an opportunity if you want to say make any closing statements. And I'll start with Mayor Scanlon.
Well, I've been a mayor now for 15 years. In the early years, there were 1 million fires to put out. We don't suffer that particular problem today. We could use a little more money. But I do have a good background with an education in civil engineering. I understand design, I understand construction and infrastructure. And I think it's time. I now spend more of my time on policy and planning than I used to be able to do. And I think that fits the need here quite well. And I would ask you for your serious consideration. Thank you.
Mayor Curtatone?
Thank you. I'll be brief. Again, I point to our record as a member of this board, the inner core representative for the past 3 years, serving as the regional representative, doing the outreach to all the communities in the region, and being a leader on setting up a process or fostering a process that is transparent, predictable, and equitable. And it is important that we seek to plan a framework of transportation beyond our inner core borders. Our prosperity in this Commonwealth is linked to a 21st century transportation system. Somerville's anxious to continue to share our best practices as a leader, understanding from our past and our failures as a region, which has driven us to advocate for the Green Line, which has driven us to think regionally for different types of services around the core. We have so much in common and so many challenges ahead that is important, we think, collaboratively. Our experience and our record shows that we are the best representative to serve those 100 communities.
Thank you. Ginger?
Well, it seems almost unfair to take any time for this, because unless some candidate comes out of the woodwork, I guess.
You're running unopposed.
I'm running unopposed, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm looking forward to serving another 3 years in this capacity.
Great. Well, again, thank you all for coming. The election is June 2nd at our annual MAPC meeting at the Cambridge Marriott Hotel. We encourage all communities to vote either before then or to come in person and cast their ballot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
With your children, too.